Example high-performance leadership expectations. Belief behavior expectations. Adopt beliefs based on cooperation, respect, improvement, and learning. Exhibit behaviors daily that are within the boundaries we have defined. Take initiative in improving your part of our service system. Use Covey's 7 habits as a foundation for personal improvement. Maintain a 75% or better leadership index score from your work group. Task expectations. Conduct regular, effective work group meetings. Prepare and issue a monthly performance progress summary. Use performance measures to identify possible improvements. Maintain an up-to-date key projects list. Know your operating costs and how they impact company performance. Ensure that your people have the skills for doing their jobs properly. Complete other daily duties that are part of your job description. Complete the activities that are part of your personal learning plan. What types of beliefs, behaviors, and tasks would you expect your leaders to have in a lean thinking workplace? The list shown on this slide were actually developed in a leadership team meeting in a company that truly wanted to make the shift towards being a workplace that focused on performance excellence, and they were very successful, by the way, in making that trip. As you look through these lists, take notice of those items that are measurable versus those that are not measurable. Think about which of these expectations might help you experience a higher level of success with your performance improvement initiative. Finally, think about the process you might use to create a list of leadership expectations of your own. How do your leaders know what is expected of them? Have these leadership expectations been clearly defined? Have they been reviewed and updated over time to keep pace with your changing organizational direction? From a measurement perspective, the Leadership Index represents the only truly measurable item out of the 5 expectations listed under the Beliefs Behaviors heading. Under the Tasks heading, however, you'll find that a majority of these expectations are measurable in one form or another. Meeting minutes, monthly report content, daily dashboard information, and key project lists can all be used to measure leadership performance. Progress in each of these areas can be tracked on at least a monthly basis, and in many cases, performance progress can be gauged at any time, dynamically, by looking at a report in progress. Perhaps the best way, however, to measure a lean leader's relative degree of success is to visit the workplace, look at the surroundings, and talk to that leader's people. Example Leadership Index. Which leaders should be measured with an index? What minimum score should be considered acceptable? How long should we tolerate poor performance? High-performance organizations use some form of leadership index, similar to the one shown above, to measure the behavioral consistency of each person who works in a leadership capacity. Notice how the different statements that make up the index address different aspects of a leader's role in a high-performing organization. The actual wording and mix of these statements should mirror the organization's mission, vision, values, and strategies. Which leaders should be measured with an index? If you want true behavior consistency across the site or organization, all leaders should be measured, even those at the top. If those people at the top are hesitant to be assessed in this manner, you should first question why. Their hesitancy might be telling you something. Additionally, by measuring all leaders with the same index, the leadership performance from a behavioral perspective of different leadership teams can be better gauged. The scores that are obtained from an index such as this one can be easily aggregated, and because the same set of statements is used for all leaders, comparisons can be made more easily. What minimum score should be considered acceptable? This particular index was modeled after one that Federal Express used. In the Federal Express survey feedback action process, all leaders were expected to achieve a minimum index score of 75% on a consistent basis. The first time a leader failed to meet this minimum, they would be required to participate in additional leadership development activities that are intended to address their low-scoring areas. If they failed to achieve this minimum a second time, they could continue working in the company, but not in a leadership capacity. These consequences may sound harsh, But what is the impact of leadership inconsistency? What level of poor performance are you willing to tolerate? Example leadership curriculum. Basic communication principles. Project management. Spreadsheet analysis and charting. Team facilitation presentation skills. Email and Word software basics. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or Principle-Centered Leadership by Covey. Process improvement skills, lean tools, trend analysis. Basic web page design and posting. Using databases and Pareto charts to analyze waste events. Ethical practices, regulatory compliance rules. How are your leaders learning? Most people are not trained to be lean leaders as part of the formal education they receive. Many of your leaders may not have received much formal education beyond high school or a little bit of college. Does that fact mean that your lean transition will be relatively less successful? Not in any way. Many of the skills required for success in performing in a high-performance workplace are not taught to a significant degree in the formal education system. This means that many of your leaders have not developed most of these skills to a high degree, no matter how much formal education they've had. As you begin your lean transition journey, give consideration to this example list of 10 skills. Which skills have relatively high supervisory team competency levels? Where is further improvement needed? My experience has shown me that all of these skills are important for leadership success. You may want to substitute someone else's leadership theories for Covey's. You may not see the immediate need for supervisors to use the intranet for information sharing, but certain skill areas are essentially mandatory for sustained improvement success. Your leaders need to be able to effectively communicate with others, and they need to be able to facilitate team meetings. They need to be able to use basic spreadsheet skills to analyze the performance of the processes they're responsible for. They must learn how to effectively use their project development time. Your leaders need to know how to use the lean process improvement tools we've covered in this course, just the basics. Most importantly, however, you need to recognize that practice time is required to develop proficiency in these skills. Team Exercise 12, Creating High-Performance Supervisors. What changes do we need to make in order to get all supervisors on the same page? How should we measure supervisor effectiveness? What are the key next steps we should take? The objective of this exercise is to help you identify ways that the role of your supervisor should be changed from both a behavior and a daily task perspective in order to help facilitate the company's lean transition. The first step of this exercise involves identifying key daily behavior changes that you feel a supervisor or manager must make in order to help make the company's lean transition efforts more effective. So for the first sub-exercise, let's identify 2 changes that are needed to help get all managers and supervisors on the same page from a lean thinking perspective. Next, let's think about the question, identify 2 ways to measure supervisor effectiveness in supporting a lean effort. Third, let's identify 2 key next steps that you or your organization needs to take. Now, as with the other exercise, the best way to use these questions is to think about them individually first, have dialogue as a team about them and reach consensus on the top 2 or 3 items that would be under each list, and then see where you want to go from there from a planning perspective. As part of the report out, your team might be asked to present the key changes, possible ways to measure supervisor effectiveness, and key next steps that were identified. Also, be prepared to provide justification for why you made the choices that you did.